Sometimes bands have two separate musical lives. There's the side known to casual listeners through top 40 hits, and then there's a different dimension appreciated by dedicated fans and hardcore listeners. Ambrosia perfectly embodies this duality. Ambrosia secured its place in music culture with a trio of hugely successful romantic hits in the late 70s and early 80s. Songs like How Much I Feel, Biggest Part of Me, and You're the Only Woman, You and I, which continue to grace soft rock and yacht rock playlists. However, Ambrosia's origins tell a different story, one deeply rooted in the world of prog rock. Let's dive into the story of how Ambrosia's musical journey unfolded and discover what happened to their progressive beginnings. So, Ambrosia's story begins with a quartet. David Pack on guitar and vocals, Joe Puerta on bass and vocals, Christopher North on keys, and Burley Drummond on drums. Funnily enough, they started off as Ambergris Might, but they had to switch to Ambrosia because another band had dibs on the name Ambergris. They picked Ambrosia from the dictionary, likening the whole nectar of the gods vibe. These guys grew up in Southern California's South Bay, claiming San Pedro as their turf. Like many in their crew, their musical roots sprouted from the Beach Boys, Jimmy Reed, King Crimson, and the Beatles. Mixing symphonic art rock with a poppy twist, they birthed a sound they called melodic prog. Back in the day, Ambrosia was all about Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young vibes and playing around with vocal harmonies. Then, in '69, they hit up a show at the Whiskey A Go-Go to see a new band called King Crimson. It was a game changer. Their love for progressive rock artists landed them some local fame. In 1971, they got a sweet gig at the Hollywood Bowl to test out a new sound system. Gordon Perry, the big shot sound engineer, loved what he heard and invited them back for more. They even rubbed elbows with conductor Zubin Mehta at the All-American Dream concert. Ambrosia was on the rise, mixing prog rock with pop to create a sound that shook things up. Their debut album, simply called Ambrosia, dropped in February of '75, giving us hits like Holdin' On to Yesterday and Nice, Nice, Very Nice, which was inspired by a Kurt Vonnegut poem in Cat's Cradle. The album, engineered by the legendary Alan Parsons, earned them a Grammy nod for Best Engineered Recording. But that's not all. All four Ambrosia members played on the first Alan Parsons Project album, Tales of Mystery and Imagination. Now, let's fast forward to 1976. Ambrosia, after some serious touring, launched their second album, Somewhere I've Never Traveled, produced by none other than Alan Parsons. This album gave us tunes like the title track and Can't Let a Woman, becoming FM favorites with their rich instrumentation and vocal arrangements. In 1976, they took a shot at the Beatles' magical mystery tour for a musical documentary called All This and World War II. Their version hit the top 40 and became a staple at their live shows. Now, let's talk about 1978, the year Life Beyond L.A. hit the scene. This album marked a shift to a more raw, aggressive jazz and R&B vibe, saying goodbye to the lush arrangements. Christopher North left the group during the recording, feeling that the shift wasn't his jam. But guess what? Life Beyond L.A. was their big pop breakthrough with the gold single How Much I Feel. Warner Brothers was shouting it from the rooftops, and Ambrosia toured with big shots like Fleetwood Mac, Hart, and the Doobie Brothers. Fast forward to 1980, and Ambrosia dropped 180, giving us mega hits like Biggest Part of Me and You're the Only Woman, You and I. These hits landed them 3 Grammy nominations, including Best Pop Vocal Group. They hit the road for a world tour, joined by their pal Cliff Woolley for the Japanese leg. Now, the title 180 might sound like a big change in direction, but the band insists it's just because they started recording in January of 80, 180. In the same year, they lent their tunes to movies like Inside Moves and Coast to Coast, showing up on the big screen. In 1982, things took a twist. David C. Lewis briefly stepped out, making way for Bruce Hornsby. That same year, Ambrosia dropped their 5th and final studio album, Rhode Island. Despite a bit of airplay with How Can You Love Me, the album didn't hit the commercial jackpot, and the band called it quits. After the band took a break, David Pack went solo and did some cool stuff. His 1985 solo album, Anywhere You Go, featured the song Prove Me Wrong, which also ended up in the 1985 film White Nights. Joe Puerta, on the other hand, joined forces with Bruce Hornsby in the Range. In 1989, Ambrosia got the gang back together, all 4 original members, and started rocking live shows again, mainly on the West Coast. They even added Tolak Olestat and Shem von Schreck to the squad, bringing in more musical firepower. As the 90s rolled in, Ambrosia expanded their touring schedule. David Pack couldn't make it to all the gigs, so guitarist John DeFaria, Bernie Chiaravalli, and Mike Keneally took turns filling in. It was like a musical relay. In 1997, Ambrosia dropped a greatest hits CD called Anthology, featuring tracks from all their albums plus some new ones. They also gave their entire catalog a facelift, remastering and releasing it on CD for a new generation to enjoy. To celebrate their 30th anniversary in 2000, Ambrosia hit the road for a special tour. But here's the twist. David Pack decided to part ways with the band after their final show in 2000. Doug Jackson stepped in as the new guitarist, but Steve Ferris from Mr. Mister even had a cameo at one gig in Georgia. Shuffling around continued. Ricky Cosentino filled in for Shem for a few years, and Robert Berry joined temporarily in 2004-2005. Ken Stacy came in as a singer and guitarist in 2005, alternating with Shem for a bit. Tolak Olestat left in 2004 to do his solo thing in the Netherlands, and David C. Lewis came back. Shem then took a break to join Kenny Loggins' band. Also, David Pack, one of the founding members, started on his solo endeavors in 2005. He released 2 projects, Unborn, a compilation of older unreleased material, and The Secret of Moving On. The latter featured collaborations with esteemed artists like Timothy B. Schmidt, Steve Perry, Ann Wilson, and Dewey Bunnell. Both albums showcased Pack's signature smooth pop rock style. More changes happened in 2009. Rick Cowling joined in on vocals, guitar, and keyboards. Tolak Olestat made a comeback from time to time, and Doug Jackson had to step away briefly to play guitar for Gary Wright. In 2011, Ambrosia had a moment in the spotlight on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. The band graced the stage as part of Fallon's Yacht Rock 2K11 theme show, treating the audience to performances of Biggest Part of Me during the show and How Much I Feel Afterward, posted on Fallon's website. It was a nostalgic, yet refreshing, return to the limelight. The year 2012 marked a significant addition to the Ambrosia lineup with the inclusion of Mary Harris, wife of Burley Drummond. Not only did she bring her skills on keyboards and vocals, but Harris also contributed as a vocal arranger and songwriter. Her impressive resume included collaborations with iconic names like Pink Floyd, XTC, Stanley Clarke, and Jimmy Buffett. Ken Stacy re-entered the Ambrosia scene in 2014 after Rick Cowling's departure, contributing to a stable lineup for a considerable period. The band continued to hit the road, often teaming up with other renowned artists such as Bill Champlin, Peter Beckett, Michael McDonald, Edgar Winter, Dave Mason, Gary Wright, Al Stewart, and more. Ambrosia's live performances seamlessly blended their classic hits with more recent material, showcasing their enduring musical prowess. In 2020, the band faced a bit of a shake-up when Ken Stacy took a break during the lockdown. However, the show must go on, and Kip Lennon from the band Venice stepped in to take over lead vocals for the 2021 tour, marking the band's entry into the post-lockdown era. Tragically, in 2021, Ambrosia mourned the loss of former keyboardist David Cutler Lewis, who died due to brain cancer. The band paid tribute to his memory, acknowledging his significant contribution to their musical journey. The year 2022 brought yet another twist as former member Shem von Schreck returned, this time taking on the role of drummer to fill in for Burley Drummond during his recovery from back surgery. Ambrosia's journey after the 80s is like a musical roller coaster, with lineup changes, heartfelt tributes, and a constant search for new sounds. It's a testament to the band's unwavering passion and determination. Their timeless tunes not only keep the OG fans grooving, but also bring in fresh ears. As they blend their musical past with today's vibes, Ambrosia invites all of us to jam along on this awesome adventure. If you enjoyed this musical journey through Ambrosia's history, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more engaging content about music history.